When you let people be themselves in a role, they're able to voice things a lot better.
We are a better organization because of inclusive hiring. We have benefited as an organization. The project has benefited as a result of that.
Has been mentioned in this podcast, there's a certain level of distrust of outsiders. So when we're going in as researchers, funded by the government of Canada, how do we build that trust with these populations that have been hurt by people who look like me?
Tansy, hello, and welcome back to the Diversity Disconnect podcast. I'm your host, Mallory Tomlinson. I am excited to have the Diversity Disconnect team back in the studio with me today. You've gotten to know our research assistants, Emily and Madeleine, as they've shared their journey of data collection. You've learned from them as they've shared their findings and recommendations. You've also heard the voices of their bosses, Megan and Peter, playing the roles of Jordan and George. Today, they are joining me as their authentic selves. We'll be chatting about how this project came to be and why they made the intentional choice to create an inclusive, diverse team that shared lived experiences with our research participants. Then Megan will be joined by Madeleine and Emily as they discuss the realities of collaborating as a neurodiverse queer team with a variety of disabilities and cultural backgrounds. First up, hello, Peter and Megan.
Hi.
Why did we decide to prioritize hiring people with lived experience over those with research experience?
I think it's a really important point, and it was essential to this project. And I think that really there's two parts to it. Firstly, bringing on people with lived experience means that they understand what it is like to live in a rural community as an Indigenous person or as a person dealing with a disability. So it really brings a comprehension to their work that really nobody else is going to be able to come with, right?
Yeah.
And I think the second point is also very important to us because we're doing research. So these folk are showing up to employers, service providers, job seekers, people in the community, and they come with a certain credibility because they live in rural communities, they understand what that's about, and that becomes clear to the people that they're speaking with. And I think the recognition of their lived experience for those folk also plays a role into how we gather information. Like there's a substance to it. And I'm all about that right now. So it means a lot to me, you know.
And I think, it was one of those things where when Peter suggested it, it was like, yeah, that's a really great idea at the time. And I knew it was a great idea, but I didn't necessarily think through all the reasons why it was a great idea until they started showing themselves, whenever you're doing research, bias is something really important to consider. You want to try to remove as much bias as possible and be aware of what bias is present because you can't remove bias completely. And so in developing some of our research materials, I think that can be in research when done, especially research that is being led by white folks from a more colonized perspective. And if you're working with different populations, such as Indigenous populations or people who do see things differently, who don't necessarily fit within the social norms of Western colonized ways of living, they'll see where the problems may be in developing those research materials and developing the questions that might have a negative influence on our research participants and therefore the data they give us without even us being aware that it was a subtle word change. When we even originally proposed this, we were going to be looking at non-traditional employees, right? That was the word we were going with.
Yeah.
And immediately we were called out that was not the word to be using.
Yeah, that was such an interesting moment because for us, we were using the term traditional, meaning what has always happened. And as we were connecting with Indigenous folk, they were saying, no, the word traditional means something very different to us. It's about who we are. And so there was some concern about confusion. And because of the team and the way in which we came together to do this work, we were ready to give up on that terminology. We weren't married to it. We needed the idea to be carried forward.
And once it was pointed out to us, it was obvious in hindsight again, right? It was like, oh, doy. And that conversation was before we had even hired our research assistants. They weren't there for the conversations around, non-traditional versus underrepresented, which is what we move forward with in terms of our language. And I think that, those types of errors, thankfully, we're able to pivot and adjust ahead of time. But if we had them earlier in that conversation, we might have avoided it completely. The second area that, in this research in particular, we were working with a lot of vulnerable populations. We're looking at speaking to people who have experienced various forms of trauma and are living in rural and remote communities that are fairly isolated. And has been mentioned in this podcast, there's a certain level of distrust of outsiders. So when we're going in as researchers funded by the government of Canada, how do we build that trust with these populations that have been hurt by people who look like me?
And so I'd say that probably is the third factor that comes into why it made sense to hire these folk, is that it was about trust,
How has building a diverse and inclusive team benefited your company or you as an employer?
I feel that this is a really important part of the project because we call ourselves Free Rein, and it's easy to have a name to an organization, but that name has to have some kind of validity. And by walking the talk, then it gives us a sort of integrity. We get to live out who we say we're going to be. And I think when you hire people with lived experience, your organization is better for it because they're bringing dimensions, ideas, values, perspectives on the world that as able-bodied folk of settler heritage, we don't possess. So I think that really having these folk within the organization has been a really substantial piece of work. I feel like we are better for it because of what they have brought.
I know I'm a better manager for it. I mean, I haven't had necessarily much management experience before hiring our team, and they were the first people who I ever actually had the decision-making power to hire, which is really cool for me that I got to intentionally hire people who, are often underrepresented and people who, it's more of I got to do things that I wish had been done for me throughout my career as somebody who does live with a disability, as somebody who is a little neurospicy, living with mental illness. There are a lot of things I wish employers would have done or considered or taken into account throughout my career. And I've struggled with it instead, or I've fought against the system, or I've tried to make myself fit within the boxes of expected behaviors and ways of thinking and ways of approaching work. And it's exhausting. I'm 33 years old now and I'm tired of doing it. And so to be able to provide these opportunities for folks where they don't have any of those feelings is, well, thank you for giving me that opportunity, and been really rewarding and just changed who I am as a person and how I approach things.
Well, thanks. But I feel that there is kudos that go to you because you recognized the ethic of the organization. You recognized that at our heart, we are about empowering our people, and you ran with that. And I think by taking that idea and applying it to these folk who weren't research assistants until you made them research assistants, that their ability to express their thoughts and ideas, to have the power to take actions that were outside of the frame, gave them this sense of ownership, belonging, that they could conduct this work confident that you had their back. And I think it was really lovely being able to witness that from where I sit in the organization.
Well, I think it's a ripple effect. I've always said, and I get it from the TV show Scandal, Go Olivia Pope, the fish rots from the head, right? I was only in a position to be able to empower them because you've empowered me throughout my time at Free Rein. And I felt empowered to be able to make the decisions I wanted to make as a manager and as a team leader. So again, it goes back to workplace culture, it really does. And the power that a strong, intentional workplace culture can have when it is mindful and caring about its employees.
Yeah, thanks. I think, though, that it is important to say I feel anxious when we're dealing with new people and they've come into the organization, and it's like, oh, I'm giving them all this power to now make decisions as a project coordinator.
It's scary to get all that power too. Don't get me wrong.
And it's just not what's done within most organizations. There's, a temptation to micromanage. There's a temptation to be the boss, and I try to shy away from that as much as possible. And I know that Christine and the other key folk at Free Rein really, hold that value set very close to their hearts. So it's taken a long time. This is 30 years that we're in business, and 32. Oh my goodness. So here we are, and I think initially it was really about clients. We're going to empower clients through the various initiatives and supports they'll be able to get the work they did. But then as we started to hire on people, there was this sort of realization of, what we said we would do for clients, we will also be obliged to do for staff. And I think ultimately the name Free Rein, which was given to us by my partner, Christine Prue, has always been that kind of reminder. It's not simply tucked away in a mission statement somewhere. It's right within the name of the organization. And so I'm very grateful for that. I feel that it just keeps bringing us back to our original thoughts when we were young people 32 years ago.
What do you want other employers to know about inclusive hiring?
It's not as hard as they make it seem. It's really not that hard. It's not something that requires going outside of the scope of management and people hiring as it is. Really.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of pushback on these issues with people saying, you're meeting a target, or, it's just tokenism or something. And I can understand why people feel that way, because they're feeling threatened, right? They feel that, if they keep hiring these people, they're not going to hire people like me, right? And I get it. But there's also a really important piece, which is most jobs, you can teach people the skill sets that they need. The folk who came to us had a lot of capabilities, right? They brought a ton of skills to the table.
Incredibly talented.
So when we started to work with them, we started to recognize those skill sets. Now, the important piece in all of this is that because they're out in the community and representing the organization, other businesses get to see that Free Rein is prepared to hire people with disabilities, Indigenous people, to come within our organization and do the work that needs to be done, right? So not only are we conducting this piece of research, but we're actually living out what we're asking people to do. We are constantly asking employers to hire this client with a disability, this person with, some other kind of challenge, a person of color, indigenous person, that we're coming to them asking that. Well, we better be prepared to do the same ourselves.
You're
right?
walking the walk.
We walk the
You're
walk.
talking talk. You're walking the walk.
We walk the talk. We talk. And say that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
But also, it was interesting for me being out in the field, because I did get to join the team out in the field a few times. And I did have the experience of being able to talk with some of our research participants, and talking with the employers in particular. It began to change the conversation, because I was able to speak to them as a manager, somebody who can empathize with their struggles and with their challenges and their priorities, and show them how it can be done in a very inclusive way, and how it doesn't have to be a big scary thing if it's something that's new to you. And it became harder, I think, as well, for those who, there's a lot of really well-meaning people out there who want to be safe, inclusive hires, and they just don't know how. But unfortunately, there are also those who are less well-meaning, who don't want to create those opportunities, who don't see any need for themselves to even think about why they should create those opportunities. And so when then we are speaking with those people, and they are quite literally standing in front of somebody who is doing that work successfully, it became harder for them to counter that in a way. It became harder for them to follow their preconceived ways of thinking about inclusive hiring. It became hard for them to put our situation in the box they think all inclusive hiring is, when we don't fit that idea. We're working very well. And it caused some employers to start to question those preconceived notions when they were seeing it right before their eyes, which was really great. But, we still have a ways to go.
If I haven't really expressed this sufficiently, I think it's important that I say we are a better organization because of inclusive hiring. We have benefited as an organization. The project has benefited as a result of that. And we've been able to do the work that we set out to do a long time ago now. It's like 3 years of
I wrote this proposal in 2021, if you can believe it.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
There you go. So, I think we're a better organization for it because we brought in folk who really understood what we were searching for. And I think that probably is at the heart of what I would want to say to you guys today. Yeah. It's been good.
It's been amazing.
I love this team. I'm going to miss them.
Yeah, I'm already sort of mourning their loss. And I wish there was more work that we could do with these people. But we can only hope, and let's see what the future holds.
Hello again, Megan, and welcome Madeleine and Emily.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Okay, so Madeleine and Emily, can you tell me a little bit about how you found the role, and then what caught your attention about the opportunity?
I found it on Indeed. I was feeling pretty weary. I had been searching for a job for quite a while. It had been a good couple months, and wasn't really hearing too much. And then I saw this one. I was like, yo, that'd be perfect.
What's the catch?
Yeah, no, that's literally I was like, there's got to be something. It's probably real bad, and that's why
It's a scam.
No, for real.
Terrible bosses,
Right?
Just the worst people you have to work with.
No, and I was like, no shot, this is real, and if it is, no shot is that for me. And then I'm just typing away and then doing my little thing and then submit it, and here we are.
That's how fast it went. Just here we are.
Well,
magically.
Yeah, no.
Joe up and said, the job is yours.
I went back into my depression hole, and no, seriously, that time was not ideal. And then I remember being at a thrift store, and I saw my phone ringing. I was like, no way, this could be it. And then I was like, my friend was wandering down the aisle, so I was like, let's go. Yeah, so here we are.
So I would say that it came to me at from the pit.
We were both in the pit.
I was in a pit. It was brought to me it was like, hey, there's this thing. You should apply. And I was like, okay.
Don't mind if
sorry.
I do.
We don't have to hide who brought this to you, by the way.
Okay, all right. Megan, actually.
This mysterious force.
It was magically brought into my life.
The wizard.
The wizard.
Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I always knew I was magic.
I had been working on this project behind the scenes for quite some time, and gave me the heads up that this was going to be a thing coming out, and they were like, "Yeah, you should do it. You should try." I was like, "Okay, I guess I will then." I had been in a cycle of like fairly disheartening experiences, I would say. Of like, I did an employment program and was doing the most, and it wasn't happening for me. So I was just in I had committed to like following my joy, and so I would say it kind of all came together in a way of like things were finding me, and so I got the job posting sent my way. And I read it and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I didn't have like a lot of context because we didn't know exactly what it was all going to look like at the time. But
To be fair, neither did I.
right, nobody knew what it was going to look like. So
I didn't know what I was doing.
So
That
it
was
was
my
just
first
kind
job
of like-
posting I ever wrote. It's exciting to hear that you liked it.
yeah, so I was like, that sounds really good. I, as usual, I'm like, I need more information. But yeah, it was. I applied. I did my cover letter, and I was like, please, I need this. And I did my interview, and I was interviewing with a total stranger, third party, and it went well. I was scared, but pulled it off, and
Faked it enough to
Here
get here.
today, still here. They haven't quite caught on that I'm just making it up as I go.
I'm a faker.
We all are.
Guys, I'm a fraud.
Hey, here's the secret. So am I.
So am I.
So is she.
We all are.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So pulled it off, and when I got the phone call, I was it was like that.
What were you doing? She was in a thrift store. What were you doing? Do you remember?
I had gone back to the pit. I think. I was like, I'm just gonna re-exist in the pit for a little while and see what happens, because I have no control over this scenario. And I think it was literally like the next day after my interview.
I didn't wait very long.
No. Got
She
a
knew it
phone
was the
call.
two of
If
you.
not the day. I don't know. It was really quick. And I thought, they just need clarifying questions. There's like a second part of this interview, right? And no, I got the job offer, and I was like, really though? And for like the full amount?
Yeah. No, that was something that shocked me too. Like when you said the wage or whatever, I was like,
Well, I don't want to like brag about that, but like,
no. It's not bragging. Like it just felt very like fortunate, I
It's
guess.
a real job.
like, why am I at the top of this here scale? Like,
Well, and that was, I mean, especially for me, that was really important, was we are creating this project intentionally wanting to hire people with the shared lived experiences. I did not want your pay docked in any way, shape, or form, because your lived experience is just as valid as somebody who did a 4-year degree in research, if not more,
Yeah.
to this work in particular.
Yeah, like it felt like I was actually being valued as an employee, right? Instead of just being like, we're trying to get the bare minimum out of you. Like, you know, like, because previous jobs were very much like you're bleeding me dry. And I was like, okay, so that's cool. I'm going to leave now.
Did you guys going out into the communities and having the lived experience and gaining the trust of people purely for either them being able to, you being able to understand them, and
They saw themselves in you.
yeah, and so that is so much value. And
I couldn't, we can't recreate that. That can't be bottled.
so a university degree isn't going to
Change that.
no.
Yeah.
I do find it so interesting, you know, from being on this side of, well, the literal table and the interview process. having had one candidate that I referred to the job, which came with its own unique challenges of balancing my absolute excitement in knowing just how, like, I knew when I said you should apply for this thing, you would be fantastic at it. I still knew I could not guarantee you the job. I could not even guarantee to myself that I'd be hiring you because that wouldn't be fair to anyone else, which was very difficult for me to do because once again, I knew you'd be fabulous at it. And then having somebody who was a complete stranger to me, who I read the cover letter for and went, I need to talk to this person. I need to know more about them. And it just lucked out for me that you two fit together so well.
The perfect pair. Couldn't have worked out better. Couldn't have worked out
have been a better duo.
Individually.
They complement each other's strengths. They support each other where need be. Okay, we're gassing them up too much.
No,
My tank is full.
This guy.
But no, it was really, you know, that process, that experience of going through the recruitment and interview process with both of these wonderful human beings was difficult in so many ways because I hate telling people no. And, you know, people, they weren't the only ones applying to this job going, this job sounds really cool, really amazing and unique opportunity. But I only had 2 roles to offer and here they are. And I know I made the right choice. Sorry to everybody who applied to this job who might be listening. But yeah, the process, knowing they're like, am I going to be it? And then knowing the flip side of like, I need these 2 now.
Yeah.
These are the ones.
Cool.
Cool. Just to finish it off, I was pacing, hyperventilating, but like I went out onto my deck and I was like, yes. My dad was putting up Christmas lights and I was like, Dad, no, it's happened for me. It's happening. Somebody believes in me. And I did it.
That was the other thing for me, was watching you struggle and not know, and me not be able to be like, don't worry, you are like rocking this process. You are incredible. Everybody, you know, like you said, you interviewed with a complete stranger. So it wasn't just,
Wasn't someone you knew.
someone you knew. And also my bias was slightly removed from the situation.
You weren't being pushed through the process because it was a familiar person or it wasn't, you know,
but it was
nepotism.
Yeah, exactly.
really hard for me to not be like, just breathe. You got this. You just got to get through this. It'll be okay in the end. And don't worry. You're miles ahead of where you think you are.
It was practice of not getting in my own way. But just I can do that.
So many of us do.
Yeah.
I think all job seekers do, right?
Oh, yeah.
We all see the worst in ourselves. And when we're in that vulnerable position of like, I've applied for this job I really want, am I good enough for it? That's when we start to like tear away at our own confidence and self-worth.
Yeah, for sure.
So, for the 2 of you, what were some of the early signs that this might be a safe, inclusive workplace to join?
There were quite a few signs, I think, at least for me. I don't know if you want to like.
Well, I had a lot of context going into it. I knew of the organization and I knew of Megan personally and the work that they do in our communities, my community and the community around Free Rein. And so I knew like my identity is safe here and knowing like the job posting, they want people with shared experience. So it was right away like, oh, this is like an asset for the first time ever. I don't have to explain how I'm capable and I can
Brag about yourself in a way.
Yeah. Or like, I don't have to,
Make apologies.
manipulate myself or like fit into a box or
Don't have to minimize it.
yeah. So manipulate is what I was looking for. I don't have to manipulate myself. And so that's huge. It's like right away, this creates a sense of safety and openness. I think when it's broadcast that this is what we're looking for, there's kind of an understanding of like, they're gonna kind of do what is required to make that work and hear me. So Yeah. It was the job posting. It was the people involved. It was the whole package, really.
The whole shebang. Yeah, and it's interesting for me because I had no context going into it.
Although you did know of the company.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I knew of like the organization as this like all powerful entity that just changed the life of somebody very close to me. And like, for me, that was huge because it's like, it shows that this place like believes in people who maybe haven't really had those opportunities before. And so like, even just the thought of like, cool, I can be part of like, what a cool full circle kind of moment. Like, I don't know. It's very cool that way. And then, like Madeleine was saying, like even just seeing in the job posting that like these things were valued was huge. Mm-hmm. And then seeing that talk be in the walk of like, no, like we're serious about that. It's not just we wrote that for fun. We wrote that just to seem cool. It's like, no, like it's for real. And then, yeah, just different, I don't know, different ways of like going about introducing us to the roles and stuff once we were finally there, and like just being accepting of like who we were as people. It's just like, here, show us who you are, you know, instead of no, this is what we want. This is who you're going to be now. It's like, I don't know, very cool.
For my own, you know, curiosities and knowledge, like, was there anything particular in that onboarding process? You know, I'd very antithesis to the free rein way of unstructured work. I had structured an onboarding process for you both very intentionally. Was there anything in there that had stood out to you and helped with that transition into the company?
I think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think right away, like before I'd even accepted the job, you told me like, we have money, we have accessibility stuff. You just need to tell me what you need and when you need it. So that was huge. And then going into it, like, I think you structured pieces of learning into it that were really important. Like for me, I have no context of research, or understanding, like a little bit of an understanding, but not the behind the scenes of research. I'm not a researcher. And so like putting in place the people who knew that side of things and building connections for us with those people that we can go to them for this. And then there's this person for this kind of thing. And then we're doing the Indigenous Canada course was hugely valuable. And I think it just kind of set the tone of like, I knew what could have been involved in working with Indigenous communities, but I think hearing it from a course that was like created by Indigenous people was hugely important in kind of gaining that like perspective, and it makes it very real. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think just like the transparency of it all, like it didn't feel like anything was like behind a curtain or like even just saying to Lenny, like, hey, we have these funds, like how do you want to use them? It's not like a hierarchy of things. It's like we're here for you. There's support. There's things like that. And
Megan didn't wait for Lenny to possibly struggle and then say, oh, you know, if you need something, we can give it to you, or like, but being upfront.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, for me, it was really important to like have those initial calls of just getting to know each other. Because I feel like a lot of times you're just kind of thrown in and it's like, have fun, good luck, you'll figure things out when you get there. And so it was just like all right, we get to ease into this. Like, I know kind of the playing ground now of like who these people are. It's not just like strangers that I'm typing away to on Teams of like, hi, I need help.
We started, also the timing was really good because we started with a Christmas party, basically, a few weeks into it. So it was like, here is everybody meeting our boss's boss in a setting like that was interesting, and it kind of just like
he was jovial that night.
Yes,
jovial is the word of the day for that.
And so seeing like everybody in that context of like they're all at the end of their year, and
you're at the beginning.
We're just starting out, and so that kept spirits up, and it kind of like eased some of my panic. And yeah, just getting to sit with Emily and chat was fantastic.
That was great. I think too, on the training side of things, it was really beneficial, even if because I came from like a research-y background, like I knew from school and stuff.
You were our official science person.
The woman in STEM. Because I feel like sometimes when you have those like qualifications and things, you're kind of just expected to like have full retention of these things. And so like even just having that refresher showed me that like there's that care of like we don't expect you to like prove yourself or like try to catch you lying of like you said you knew this, you know. It's like here we go, we're gonna walk together, we are both on the same page now, and here we go, right?
You brought up something that I think is very interesting and very important. You know, we've talked about in this podcast and in this research the importance of flexibility and the power that, you know, working from home can bring for people with disabling conditions, amongst other challenges. The benefits to even hybrid work for everybody brings in that flexibility. But there are challenges to working from home. You know, employers don't like working from home, and they always relate it to you lose that workplace culture. But that's not true. You can create culture in a hybrid environment, in a working from home setting, and that was so important for me to do in those early days because I personally love a workplace with a good culture. I love being in an environment that I like the people with. I, you know, live alone with me and my cat. And so sometimes work is my main form of seeing other people. And if I'm working from home and I'm not seeing the people, I still need that interaction. So it was, you know, I could look at this, we're going to lose that sense of workplace connection and culture, or how do I infuse workplace and culture and connection into this remote team environment?
Yeah. Very cool.
Hopefully I did it well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the amount of time that we were actually able to spend in person with each other, we gelled really well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think it's just the being real part. Because like I even remember one of the first emails you sent us was like, I'm so excited to have you guys on. You like sent like a GIF in there like of Oprah or something. I was like, all right. I like that. It's not just the corporate like cheers, have a good day. Yeah. I hope this email finds you well.
I spoke Gen Z. What can I say?
I mean, GIFs are more millennial now, but
okay. I spoke
not to call you out, but
okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I spoke my own generation. I was trying to, you know, show my generation's way of welcoming you in.
I appreciate a good GIF. You know,
GIF game
you were
strong.
elder Gen Zs. I thought, you know, you'll get the millennial ways.
Hey, we get it. We get it.
I'm so old. I don't even know what generation I am.
You're a millennial, sweetie. Don't worry.
I really?
Yeah.
You're like
you're not 40 yet.
Megan, what were some of your first impressions of Madeleine and Emily?
Honestly, I could tell they were both very nervous, and I don't blame them. Like, I remember being in my early 20s, starting out in my career, and being very nervous about meeting the box, the typical box for employers.
And this doesn't just feel like a job. This feels like a career. This feels like this isn't just
It's a grown-up job.
It's a grown-up job.
All my people are like, you have a grown-up job.
You have a grown-up job.
Yeah, like when I can't explain it in one sentence of what I do, that's a grown-up job.
I know. People are like, what do you do? And I'm like,
I have a grown-up job.
It's a real thing.
I swear it's real. I still feel like a fraud when I'm like, I'm actually like leading a team of researchers.
Just crazy.
I know that's cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm cool.
I mean, I've known Madeleine for 2 years now, 2.5 years now. And so the difference between Madeleine when I first met Madeleine and now, they are completely different. They shine and like are radiating and confidence and
well, and I think that's something that employers need to remember is like we as humans can find so much fulfillment and passion and purpose through our jobs. That was something that came up through the research as we're talking about authenticity and fit and motivation, right? These are all very important human things that if employers aren't taking those elements into play, that's what creates that like monotonous, you know, assembly line type, doing the same thing over and over again, and you don't necessarily feel like you're contributing to something. And I, as somebody who finds a lot of passion and purpose through my work and is oftentimes called a workaholic, I wanted to ensure that my team felt the same way, that my team was excited by the work that we're doing. And I wanted people who would get excited about the work. You know, I did speak to a number of candidates who were researchers, who were looking for the research job, and they didn't necessarily care about what we were researching and
They didn't care about the topic.
topic and the importance of it and the way this could have an impact in the world.
They might like the numbers. They might like doing, the data.
It's a good project. You know, it's a project with good outcomes, and it makes me feel good. But it wasn't that the passion of, you know, Madeleine going, this could really change the lives of some of my friends. The passion of Emily going, this is just really impactful, and I know the impact a company like Free Rein can have for people, and I want to be a part of something like that.
And this is my community.
And it's my community.
Yeah.
It is something very near and dear and close to me. And so for me, that's what I was looking for. And once I kind of was able to dig a little deeper with them both and help them sort of break out of their shells a bit, particularly Emily, because Madeleine already knew me. I've talked about my interview with Emily with all of you here a few times, and it's always stuck with me. Was one of those first conversations we ever had. And just, you know, again, it was like I knew that this opportunity that Peter and I had created through this program, I knew that this, you know, what we wanted to do had a lot of impact and potential, but it really was our conversation in your interview, Emily, that made me start to see it for the first time, that this is more than just the research.
That's awesome. Also, like, we're just a bunch of nerds, so.
Yeah. And it just worked out that we all get along so well.
I love boy cats.
Right? I think that's huge. I was going to say, too, sorry, I don't know if you had, like, a thread. I don't want you to lose it.
No, it's good.
Okay. I feel like Madeleine and even myself, because, like, I am more outspoken when I do get comfortable, but I feel like Madeleine's a good example of, like, when you let people be themselves in a role, they're able to, like, voice things a lot better. Because, like, in this project, it was so crucial for us to feel like we could say things when things weren't quite, like, going with what we thought should be happening. And so, like, seeing Madeleine, like, be able to speak up and say, like, hey, this isn't right, like, was so cool. And, like, it just felt really good to, like, know that we all had each other's backs and we're all like, yeah, okay, like, I hear you, I see you, we're gonna actually do something.
I think for me, I started from a place of, like, I can't speak up for me, but I have these, like, people that trust me now, and I got my grown-up job, and people that, like, look up to me, and so being able to advocate for their safety and to make sure that their voices got through, I think was really important. And so if I was able to say something that meant that they were more understood or heard, was easier for me. I can do something for somebody else. And then through that, I got a little bit better at saying, like, this isn't cool for me. This is how I feel. So it was incremental, and it's led to some pretty big changes.
It was real cool to see.
For both of you. You both, like, you know, yeah, like Mallory said, she's known Madeleine a little longer, but we've seen the same for you, Emily. We've seen the same growth with you, and you both have helped me grow and change as a person. But it really does come back to what Peter was saying earlier about, you know, if our company is being structured and motivated by this desire for our clients to have their free reign and to be themselves and to follow their paths and what works for them, it would be so hypocritical for us to not do that with our own employees, to not create a space for our own employees to shape and mold their own careers.
Yeah, and I feel like it made it a lot more meaningful, because had we not had the voice, I feel like for me at least, like, I would have just felt so disconnected from it. Like, I'd be like, what's even the point? Because, like, it's not.
What's the point of gathering all this stuff if you're stifled and not able to say anything about it?
No, exactly. Like, if it feels so off base and, like, out of touch, like,
why would we hire people with lived experience if we're not going to listen to that lived experience?
Exactly, right? Like, yeah, I think it was very cool, very good.
There was a turning point, I think, where we all, like, had a solid idea of, like, this is what we're doing, this is why we're here, and that needs to be, like, front of mind, and I think we got to a good place there.
What contributes to your team's successes?
This guy over here, right?
This guy.
Those guys would be Emily and Madeleine, respectively.
Right.
and Madeline,
Right. Yeah. If you're a
respectively.
listener.
For all the listeners, I'm referring to Emily.
And I'm referring to Madeleine.
I think the biggest success that happened here is this team and the curation. It was like it feels like it was a mindful curation. The way that the skill sets and the attitudes and our passions and the sense of humor.
The sense of humor. If it weren't for that,
We'd all be in a ball on the ground crying.
Dark
We'd be back in our pits.
dark.
we'd be
places.
back in our pits.
I've always fought against the idea that I need a buddy or like somebody to like help me through things. I've always wanted to be like really independent when I can be, and but I've found like sustainability in relying on my people. And this guy, Emily, like we were just on a work trip in Victoria, and I gotta be so real. Like Emily brought me supplies in a dark time. And if she had not have done that, firstly, I would not have slept that night.
The night before our
presentation,
at the conference for over 100
People.
listening, attentive.
the first presentation of our adult careers.
Which you rocked, and people were just astounded by you both.
And I hope you are all listening right now.
I don't want it to get lost how important this duo is in the partnership. I would have been on the floor. Like,
It's been amazing to watch the two of you.
It's been an honor.
It's been amazing.
yeah. So I am not what I have been able to be without my buddy.
Nice.
Recognition deserved.
As our research participants kept saying, it takes a village. It takes community. I think, to what you said about, wanting to be independent, I think true independence also includes recognizing where we can't do things alone, where we do need that support, where we do need our people, because our world is not built to be alone.
No one is meant to be alone.
Yeah, like human beings need to have others. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've had some real stinky coworkers in the past. And so I was very worried when I first started of like, who are you people? What is the vibe
What's
here?
the story?
No, exactly, right? Because like some people suck. And so like, I don't know, it just felt really good to have like such a good connection and stuff. And like, again, knowing that everybody has your back, because like, I don't know, I felt very like alone over the years and stuff. And so like even it goes back to the small community talk of like just feeling isolated and stuff. And so like having people I know that can like relate and like have silly humor and like I can just kind of like exist and not be like, all right, so those are like, that's that compartment of my work people. And then I go home and then I'm my own person. And, it's like, I can just like be there. Yeah.
Authenticity.
Yeah. And like,
And we've all had our stuff over the last year, and we've all had to like step away or do our thing.
yeah.
But we've all allowed ourselves to have the time or to buddy up and
Support each other.
Support
when
each
we need
other.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like with a project so heavy too, like had we not had the opportunities to be like cry laughing at the goofiest things ever, like we would not be doing well right now. And so like just having that, like,
You bring up an important point. We are dealing with some heavy subjects. We are going to be hearing some heavy traumas throughout this research. We did hear some heavy traumas. And so to be able to ensure that we were okay and to have each other to rely on for that is pivotal when you're doing any work involving vulnerable populations.
we all have our own lived experiences of dealing with heavy stuff as well.
well, exactly right. Yeah.
Which
Humongous.
ultimately brings me to my biggest success factor for this team. And the thing that I think a lot of managers will struggle with is trust. I I know I benefit from flexibility in my schedule and my time. I know some days I wake up and I can't get out of bed, and it's awful to have to tell your employer, look, I can't get out of bed. Oh, are you sick? No, it's just my depression.
Yeah.
You know, oh, well, brush it off, right? Like it's still, we talk about mental health acceptance, we talk about depression, but there's still this misconception of depression being feelings of sadness.
Isn't that just a fancy way to say bummed out?
And you just suck it up for like 8 hours. So no, I know how important those days off, what someone I know calls duvet days.
Nice. I love
Right?
that.
I love that too. So those duvet days are pivotal for my ability to function. If I don't take a duvet day, I could be behind in work. Like the ripple effects are huge. So trusting you both, and again, especially for managers of a remote team where you're not, and this all comes down to micromanaging tendencies, but it's still nerve-wracking even as a non-micromanager to be like, okay, I'm going to trust them that they're going to get this work done. You know, one of them needs the day off today, but they've got a lot of work to do, and they are assuring me they can do it in the end of the week, and I believe they will. Like, it comes with time for, you know, in the early days, yeah, you're a little bit more cautious, and after a year of working with you both, if you text me, I need a day, I'm like, yeah, me too. See you tomorrow.
Don't we all?
Word. We'll be around back. We'll try again. But no, of getting those texts and no longer being worried, because I know you guys have this. I also know that you're going to do what you need to do to get the work done to the best of your abilities. And I'm not me telling you how to do it, me telling you when to do it, me telling you anything isn't
making you feel bad or making you feel like
that's not gonna help.
No.
So having known that I hope I knew, I've gone into this feeling like we've created a safe and open space of communication with one another, of that two-way communication, knowing that you will come to me if there's a problem. You will come to me if you do need the help. I create opportunities for you to come to me if need be, sometimes just to encourage you to, but you know, it'll be okay. They will get it done, especially for somebody who's like, you're not doing it the way I would do it. Will it get done the right way? Will it be okay? Will it be right? Like, that's nerve-wracking for a first-time manager, especially.
Fair.
Especially one who can be a little bit type and has a certain way they like to see things done. But letting go of that and trusting in that process and trusting in your team. I mean, I hired you for a reason. I'm going to go in with that trust, and that trust just grew over time.
That's very cool. And I would feel very bad if I didn't gas Lenny out the same way they gassed me out.
What?
That's what I'm saying. I know Lenny often feels like there's maybe an imbalance in the amount that like they feel like they rely on me for support, but it's a two-way street. I don't voice things quite as often. But you're like always there, and you know, just being a buddy, and like just when the help is needed, you are there, and that's humongous. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too sappy because that's not my style. But
well, I also think it's important to know when a person doesn't need help, right? When to let them figure things out on their own. Which again, Mallory will remember me going, oh my God, it's so hard for me to let them make mistakes. It is so hard for me to let them take this route and stumble, but
and just let them go. Let them figure it out.
And I know they'll figure out, but is this what mothers feel like?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You have to let them go and get their heart broken, or let them break something of their own, or
You have to let them learn and find out. And so that was a challenge for me. But you did a lot better than I did in my 20s, stumbling and figuring things out. So, hey.
But yeah, at the end of the day, had it not been Lenny there, because we've seen some things. We really have.
Every time they say we've seen,
and like you get the wide, like almost like the look off into the distance, like when babies look at me. That, it's like it had Lenny not been there and it had been somebody else, things would not be well. Things would not have turned out the same. It would have been very different.
We were just vibing in our hotel room over the last weekend, and it was like, could you imagine if we were doing this with somebody that whomped.
Yeah, where it's like the whomped is the word.
The scene, though, of in Victoria over the past weekend, watching the two of you come over the bridge
That's so funny.
and seeing Lenny in her chair and then Emily behind and just zooming.
Yeah.
Oh, we were flying
Flew down that bridge.
Yeah.
I feel like that is somewhat the epitome of your guys' friendship, because when Lenny needs you, you are there. But when she's on her own flying,
Oh yeah, we're
Right.
going right there behind you,
but
buddy.
you guys are always having like so much fun.
Yeah.
Even when we're almost crushed by a boulder, you guys make it fun.
Yeah, it is just so much fun watching you guys out in the wild. Like, it's great watching you guys in like during your presentation and just making a boss out of those rooms. But then watching you in the wild.
That is an interesting perspective, I think.
We
Yeah.
work hard. We play hard.
Yeah. You're a sight to be seen.
I love it.
It's
I mean, you made an impression on all 5 communities.
That's
Absolutely.
true. They saw
and
us
on that
coming.
conference that we
in
just
that
went
conference.
to. What were some of the challenges or difficulties that came with working on a diverse team?
Oh my God.
Staying on topic.
Staying on topic.
Some
Squirrel.
Some days, you know.
Some days.
There was
Oh,
like
I
a
can't remember.
collective day sometimes where it was like the energy was just down. And like it's not any of our fault. It was just
No.
like we're all there.
Whether it was raining or dark out or just
Yeah.
like a mood.
But even then we still had each other's backs. Like
But that really was the interesting thing. Like I
Yeah.
know I'm always impacted by the weather, and to see the team being impacted by the weather.
Yeah,
was-
We'd all just show up to a Teams meeting like with our toques on, like hoods
I was
up.
just gonna say that I clock into the Zoom meeting and we're all just like that. I'm like, okay, cool, we're on the same page today.
Yeah.
We're
all just like,
same
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
Suffer.
Mood.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was nice to have each other through that and to know that it's okay to show up on the Zoom in your hoodie with your cat on your lap going,
Yeah.
I don't want to human today.
Yeah, like where I've like just rolled out of bed. My hair's crazy. It's like, here we are.
And one of our first meetings, I remember sitting there and I was like, oh no, I forgot my meds. And I didn't have that reaction of like embarrassment or shame, or being like,
Yeah, I have to take meds.
yeah, I have to take meds for all of the things.
Yeah, it's not just one.
It's not just one.
Med tour.
I have a shaky
Yeah.
case. It sounds like a maraca.
Yeah. And I think that everyone was like, oh, my meds. Like, it was kind of that reaction where it's like, oh, I can do that. This can be a thing.
Yeah.
Our first med check.
Yeah, it was
It was our first med check.
Sweet.
it was a comfortability where
You got to be human.
I got to be human. I
Yeah.
got to be human. I got
You
to
had a
be
human moment, and it wasn't judged. It
I
wasn't.
didn't feel alone in my sickness.
Aw.
Personally, like there have been days where I feel it was early on. I think that my one of my tires gave out.
First week.
The very second Monday
Yeah.
of your
We
employment.
started and then it was the Monday. And we had a team meeting and you were
in bed.
you were so upset.
Guys, something happened.
Yeah.
The wall of text I received for my tire popped. And I went, you work remotely.
Something really bad happened. I have to
You're
be
good.
in my bed.
Stay in bed.
Oh darn.
Yeah.
Can I also stay in bed?
Yeah, where we were all probably already existing.
We were all just still in I'm still in bed too.
Yeah.
Things evolved. You know, bed got comfortable. But yeah, just the things happen, and there's no control over it. And I've been my response has always been shame. I go, that's my. I will always go, something has happened. I feel shame about it. So yeah, tire popped week 1. And like there's been time where it's like, thank God I can do this from the bathroom.
Yep.
Because like that's been one of the biggest hindrances to in-person work is like something's happened. I need to now be in the bathroom like all day. This is fun for nobody, I promise. I'm sorry.
I promise.
Yeah.
I promise you, I want to be here less than you want me to be here.
Yeah.
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 There's really nothing I can do about it. If you wanted me to come back at midnight, like if that was an option, I would. And so like that is one of the biggest hindrances I've experienced and people I know have experienced. So being able to have it where like I can still do this meeting. I'm just have to, you can't look at me. But I can be here and I can contribute my mind and my voice. So that I think is the most impactful for me. It's like I can do this from while doing the things that would drag me back into the pit. So,
you know, it's so hard because we've become the team that goes with the flow.
mm-hmm.
You know, we pivot. We had to pivot so many times.
We are that scene from Friends.
Can we try to reenact that at some point?
Yes, please. Yeah.
We need to get a couch and a stairwell.
Yes. I had both
Or
of
use
those
the
things.
power of editing.
Just put our faces.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, here's maybe one of the challenges of working on the team is one word is all that needs to be said, and we have ADHD'd off onto a side tangent, and they're fun, and that is absolutely what bonded us as a team, and I would not change it for the world, but it comes with its challenges of, shoot, I forgot we have a due date coming up tomorrow and we got to get on that, or, you know, making sure the things didn't slip through the cracks, because that's a risk with some of our neurospiciness. I know it's a risk for me. I will be the first to say I'm the worst at letting things slip through the cracks on this team.
But we know how to crack down and get her done.
Yeah, and I appreciate how much you both, like, as your manager, I would be like, please help me not forget this, which is not what you necessarily want to have to say to your team as manager. You want, in theory, to be the one who has it all together. But, you know, showing that I didn't was, I mean,
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it any other way, honestly. Like, I don't know if you can tell about me, but it's very hard to not be anything but who I am.
Shocker.
I know. And
People tend to be who they are.
What? It's difficult for people to pretend there's something that they're not.
What?
So yeah, having a team that understood that I also struggle and I also have my challenges, and they never held it against me that they had to help me with my challenges as well. I know I was supposed to be talking about the challenges and difficulties of working on a diverse team, but honestly, I think the challenges and difficulties you encounter working on a diverse team that are related to the fact that you're diverse are understood by your diverse team because they got the same things.
Yeah.
They've got the same, okay, that's your hole. I got you covered. Here's my hole. Well, you help me with this one.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. What have you all learned about yourselves through this experience?
The wiggly breath.
I'll just start with the first thing that came to mind. I am not the worst.
That's me.
Word.
You are not. None of y'all are the
I was
worst.
going to say maybe.
Not according to your husband.
Well, I
You're
mean,
not.
he's
I was gonna say- I was going to say maybe not the worst.
No.
But no, I'm not the worst.
You're not. You're not.
I'm like maybe good.
You're all
You're
amazing.
No,
actually-
you're like absolutely. It's
You're
not a
actually
maybe.
kind of excellent.
That's the thing.
Yes.
So I started this. Everybody, we had to have a workshop on imposter syndrome because of me.
No.
Well, because of me.
It wasn't entirely because of you. It was like 50% you, 50% Emily.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
It was because Peter really loves giving the imposter syndrome workshop.
Right. I
Right.
recorded it to refer back.
You did?
Peter, you've been recorded, just so you know. I'm sorry. I needed it. Learning material.
Learning material.
How many times have you watched it?
Oh, I only audio recorded it, to be fair.
How many times have you listened to it?
All the way through, 5 times probably.
Potato.
Potato.
No wonder you're so good at the impression. Yeah.
So that was like really, I was going into it with like, I'm actually the worst. I've fooled everybody. How am I here?
With my grown-up job.
With my grown-up job, everybody's missing something and they're going to find out. And I mean, I've made mistakes. There's been things that I could have handled so much better. But I think everybody else has that grace too, to mess up and to course correct. So yeah, I had people telling me the whole time, you know, you're not the worst. Like you're doing great. This is good. But I didn't believe anybody. I'm like, but no, you're missing some things. Clearly there's some evidence that I have here that you're missing. And so it was work that I had to do, and I had to like do some hard things when I didn't think that I could, and persevere. And so now I've looked back at the last 10, 11 months and been like, I am not the worst.
You realize your 1 year work anniversary is like,
oh, right.
next week.
Right? Oh, right. 1 year. We made it.
You made it 1 year.
Did it, loosen
You did
your
the
tie.
Yeesh. Yeah. So looking back at the year, like where I started, and it took a lot, like even June, July, I was still like, guys, I'm the worst. But something's happened, and we've pulled off some things. We've seen some things, and we came out kind of on top, and we've done some like cool stuff. And I think seeing the impacts of what we've done, and that like people are hearing us and deferring to us sometimes, is like,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I just believe in myself a little bit, which is a step.
I love that.
How do we top that?
I know that whole time I was
I
like,
need to stop talking because
We need you to go last.
Yeah, okay, I can do that.
okay. I don't have an answer yet.
What was the question?
What have you learned about yourselves throughout this experience?
You're the best disability ally I know.
Let's go.
I've learned that
Let's
about
go,
you.
dude. Oh, I'm sorry.
In a quiet way, I think.
Your powerhouse when it comes to
Problem solving.
that was the word.
Yeah, I guess being, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess more like trusted by communities than I thought I would be. Because like anybody else, like I'm scared of making mistakes. I don't want to like cause anybody harm. Like I just want to be a little guy. And so like it's been cool to like just feel more comfortable like being in those spaces and being like, yeah, you can come to me if you need to.
Should you need me?
Should you need me, I'm right here. And yeah, I guess just like feeling more confident and being able to say that I am certain things, right? Because before it's like, well, maybe I just feel that way, and then it comes across as different. But like, if I am able to like, I don't know, problem solve or like, you know, MacGyver my way through some things, then like, here we go, right?
You both have alluded to this, and something that, you know, we, especially Mallory and I, have discussed in this project is the ability to trust ourselves, right? To trust in our knowledge, to trust that we are capable of doing this. And that has been something I've struggled with when Peter offered me this job. You know, we got word, we got the contract in, and he sits down across the desk from me and goes, so you're going to be my coordinator? You're going to do this thing? And I went, Peter, I'm not a researcher. You don't want me. And he was like, no, you're exactly who I want. We'll see if he regrets that choice or not later, but
Too late.
He's stuck with me now. So yeah, it's that idea that this may have been new to me, but that doesn't mean the knowledge I have has no value. That when I feel like something's there or something might be wrong or we might need to approach something differently,
Your gut's right.
my gut is right. I mean, every time I've had a gut feeling and ignored it so far, it's proven me right later down the road. So yeah, it was really for me about having that confidence in myself that I do know what I'm doing, that I knew you knew what you were doing, even if you didn't, Lenny. I knew you knew what you were doing. although I never felt like you didn't think you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, there's a sense of confidence that exists.
But that has taken time.
Emily's got this confidence that is,
It took time.
it takes time, but there wasn't a challenge I could throw your way that fazed you, which is really impressive.
Epic.
Save that quote for when you need to find a new job with a new manager.
Yeah.
Timestamps.
But yeah, so it was about trusting myself. This was, like I said, a completely different field. I, even in university, in the mandated research course, went, I'll do the presentation part. You guys do the research and I'll present it and I'll talk about it at the end. That's what I'm really good at. And that's kind of what I've done with this job is when you two do the research, I'll go talk about it at the end. But, you know, it is that trust and knowing that we don't have bad ideas. We have ideas that are worth exploring.
Cool. Yeah. I think one thing I did clock actually as you were talking was I learned that it's okay for me to like not be okay. Because I'm so used to just pretending like things are fine and being like, I'll deal with that later. And then it doesn't happen. So like being able to like take that moment of pause and know that like, that's okay. You know, like then it's like, groovy, we're cool. Like I don't have to be like in my little depression hole for way longer than needed.
Right. Yeah, you have like a tendency to be like, this is fine. It's okay though. This terrible thing's happening, but it's okay. And I'm like,
well, yeah, like even yesterday,
no,
spoiler
it's not
alert,
okay.
I got rear-ended on the way to pick up lunch and Mallory called me and I was like, no, like I'll still go get lunch. Like it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I was like, stop.
No, you're not.
So like it's still a work in progress, but like learning that it's okay.
How might these experiences and opportunities shape your future?
I think I used a word yesterday. Propelled. And I think like this is a foundational opportunity, like grown-up job. I have demonstrated experience here that like counts for something, and I've like brushed elbows with important people.
You've presented at a conference.
Yeah,
A big thing.
There were government reps at that conference.
Yes,
there were influential people in that.
we're all important, but like people with influence, I think I've been able to speak with people with influence, and it's there's a record of it because I've always like had a concern around like my experiences before this opportunity. My experiences were not able to be put on, like I wasn't paid for them. I wasn't
Unpaid work isn't valued work.
right.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
So like I don't have references from people that have paid me. And that was a huge concern for me. And I was like, it's a thing that still like I get panicky thinking about, like, what if I don't end up with a reference?
Oh, and on top of it, for this job, I had been one of your references leading up to it. So then all of a sudden, one of your references was gone.
Right. So yeah, I had to find somebody else, and it worked out, but like it was close, and I had to use all my resources to scrape it together. So this is now like a wealth of evidence of who I could be.
What you've done.
Yeah. So that's huge. And I hope that somebody can recognize it in the future of like, this is something I've done, and I would like to be able to do more of this kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's really interesting because it's such a like irreplaceable thing, or like a very non-replicated thing, right? Like it's not like I worked at McDonald's, and so like so many other people can say the same thing and have a completely different experience. It's like this is something that is so unique and like has so many aspects of it that can be valued down the road. Like whether it's the presenting, like you can say you presented at a conference, huge. You can say that you put together data, huge. You can say you talked to all these people and grew these relationships in all these communities, also huge. So it's like all these pieces of a puzzle coming together into something that's like, you can't take that away. and you can't like replicate that somewhere else.
They're all rare experiences.
No, exactly, right?
So yeah, you can't.
Your names will be published on a published research
Well,
paper.
yeah, and like it just like, and the sad thing is that it's like the whole like, well, that will look good on a resume, you know, instead of the like, this is how we've grown as people, and like,
And that feels good to my soul. Like
No,
that
exactly.
feels good. Like
right. And so it's like on one hand, it will give a leg up in future career searches. Unfortunately, like it's
Yeah,
good, but
absolutely.
like I don't know, it's a weird thing there. But
it's not all it was. And
no, exactly, yeah.
So, and I think like it's all taken on a personality of its own. Like it's meandered into something that I don't think any of us could have perceived or expected.
Definitely not.
It's just all of the different avenues that this has kind of gone. It's given us skills and experience that, like, how else are you going to get some of that?
well, within a week, the four of us got to go away for 4 days to Victoria for a conference. Then we got to come home, spend 2 days resting, and got to come straight into a studio and record a podcast for 3 days.
cameras?
Like, this seems like a life that was otherwise not possible.
Well, right. Like it still feels so surreal to me. Like even when we were on the ferry, I was like, no way. Like this is real. Like somebody's letting me do this and like paying me to do this. Weird.
Just the most incredible time. And it was like, I was like, it was fun to just be like doing a conference, let alone like, now I get to like in my off time being in my favorite city. Whoa.
Whoa, dude.
The whole thing was impactful and
So the experiences alone is going to propel me forward because I have that momentum and like the passion and the will to and the want to pay it forward.
Yeah. And like,
to,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just to do more.
yeah.
I just get so excited because it just reminds me of what we've mentioned in previous episodes of like all these people are with us now. Like that is just like so cool and again surreal and just like powerful. Like that's never gonna leave me, and like you can't replace that. Like these people and their lovely spirits of their being are.
And yes,
No, go ahead.
Actually,
excellent.
just because on that, listening to the three of you talk about this, both, I keep referring to your age, I apologize, but, you two being in in the start really of your career, and Mallory having, returned to a career after
Raising my own children
I wasn't going
who were closer to their age.
It's okay, you have me. You all three of you were coming to this from a very fresh, and I've been doing the grown-up job thing for over a decade and a bit now. Travel work is something I've experienced before, and do not get me wrong, I love to travel, but the newness and the excitement of that isn't necessarily there for me anymore. And I think that's something that a lot of employers will forget. That, you even saw it at the conference with some of the presenters who this is old hat for them. They don't get that same excitement when somebody comes up to them afterwards to be like, that was so amazing. Like, thank you for sharing this, It can be very easy for us to forget and lose the excitement for the things that are really cool for so many people, opportunities that other people don't necessarily get to have in their careers. And I've seen so many times where the folks who have kind of lost that excitement forget how important it is and become disillusioned to the newness and then neglect the people who are having that moment. And, sometimes they can become a little infantilized because you're like, oh, it's so cute. You're all excited at your little first conference.
Well, yeah, and then it makes you feel embarrassed about it. It's like, I just want to enjoy,
Like, and it bums you out. And I don't want that on my team. I don't want my team to be like, oh, I was really excited about this thing, but that's, you're right. That's silly. I need to be professional. I need to be calm, cool, collected. Like, no, show us your excitement. Like, remind me why these things are cool.
Yeah.
And why it's good to be passionate about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Why would any of us want to lose our passion and excitement for for what we do.
Like, how boring is that?
So it's a good reminder, I think, for those of us who have been doing the adult job thing for a while, that we can't lose the fun. We can't lose the excitement and joy, those moments of joy that our jobs can bring. And so, yeah, I think employers, when they see that excitement and that joy, you know, they brush it off or they belittle it, but really they should be leveraging it and amplifying it throughout their organization and keeping their organization young and excited.
Because being young is a mindset.
Yes, it is. And we get to do this one time.
Yeah.
And like, not to get as existential, but like one time.
Yeah,
Did you
like
forget we were accepted for Connexus as well?
no, but like
no, like
one
your
shot
life.
on Earth.
Life.
Yeah, like I was making it existential earlier. My bad.
But like all of these things are your one shot of life. It's all part of it. And so like there's gravity there. And like if we can all be a little bit or a lot of it more ourselves, that's really fantastic. And like, who doesn't want that? I think we're all quite lovely in our cores. And like, let's bring that out a little bit and like, maybe let's see what happens. Like, I know I'm just a little guy, but like, and I'm young and I'm jaded in other ways, but like,
Aren't we all?
Yeah. Word.
but
Like you guys say a lot. We've seen some things.
we've seen some things. Everybody's seeing things. But can we just like think about it and like appreciate where we're at a little bit and be like, what could happen if we were just all a little bit more ourselves?
I love it. Yeah, and like I don't know, with where things are on old planet Earth, it's the least we could do. Even just looking at the conference we were at, not to like throw shade at anyone,
Call
but
you
like
guys out.
it was a very like you have to be professional vibe.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't mean you can't be yourself. And so like people had very boring outfits, very like dull gray. It was like that typical like corporate
Sea of beige.
No, exactly. And so then like me and Lenny walk in, I'm wearing my bright blue power little number
She genuinely looked like a stewardess on Pan Am
in the
from
60s. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then
gorgeous.
Lenny's got this like stunning burgundy number of just like slayness.
Power suit.
Right. And so like I remember Lenny saw this even like the day before. I was like, I'm a little embarrassed to wear this because it's so out there. And I almost didn't wear it. You
I'm
know,
so glad you guys did.
And it's because it's that culture of like, be professional, suit yourself up.
We've talked about this in just a couple episodes ago, you know, like your fashion helped you so much throughout this, you know, your authenticity helped you so much throughout this project, all the things.
Well, it just shows that you're real, right?
Yeah.
Like there's an actual human being in there. It's not like
I'm sure that somebody's power color is beige. Like if that sparks joy,
Exactly.
absolutely. And if that's what makes you feel powerful, absolutely. But we need to be like given the space to do exactly what makes us feel our best selves and our most capable selves.
Yeah.
And like if I was not wearing my power lip that day, I probably wouldn't have said half the things I said.
You guys sparked my joy. Like seeing you up there doing your thing, seeing how powerful you looked and how powerful I think that you guys felt. You were doing your thing.
very cool.
What do you want others to know about inclusive hiring?
It's really not that hard. It's really not.
Guys, it's not that hard. And also like it's so meaningful and impactful. And what I was going to say about what it's previous question about like what it's done for us is like it's shown me what's possible, and like not just me but like my family, people that I talk to, they're like that my friends that are in the pit still.
I mean, I don't think she'll mind us talking about it. Harmony,
Shout
our
out.
voice actor for Alex throughout this podcast, you know, they got to the studio early and was watching one of your interviews, and they just could not stop going. It is so cool to see Lenny. It's so cool to see someone who looks like me rocking it, doing their thing on that. Like, look at them in that studio. Look at them with the lights. They look so professional. Look at that suit jacket. They're doing the thing. They're doing this grown up big thing and making a change. And it inspires me. I'm again speaking on behalf of Harmony's words. It inspires me that I too can do the thing.
That means a lot. Harmony's stuck with me this whole project. And it's been like, since my interview, I was like, I have people I know that are struggling and stuck in the systems of poverty and the cycles. And so like being able to use what I've got going now to help where I can. And if it's just being an example and being an example to like all of our stakeholders, our employers, our service providers, like this is kind of what can happen if you just
Give people a chance.
Give people a chance. And there's going to be like bumps in the road. There's going to be challenges. There's always challenges, but I think if you come at it from a perspective of maybe it won't be that hard, then yeah, maybe it won't be that hard, and everything can be good and great. And you'll be, your organization or your work will be more rich for it. So
I don't know how I could even top that.
stop.
No,
I
I'm
gotta
being
just
for real.
Stop talking.
No, I am being for real.
Give you a shot, man.
No, but
Emily has had plenty of brilliant,
Yeah, no,
insightful
exactly.
things.
Like-
Don't you worry.
yeah, like
Good.
I'm not.
Just don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not that hard. Don't be afraid to like start changing the status quo. It's that whole notion of like, well, why would I vote? It doesn't matter. My one vote doesn't matter. It does matter.
We saw that in BC, especially this year.
Yeah, like be that one person, start creating that change, because the more we do that, then the more it becomes easier, the more it becomes normalized, the more it's like we get to see the benefits of it, and the more we lift people up that are maybe not having the best time. And that's
If
all
you
we
make
can
it
ask for.
inclusive for everyone, you're excluding no one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Ramps and stairs.
very cool.
You know, hearing you guys talk about the Sea of Beige and the professionalism in that room, it really, when we were talking about it in that moment, it did get me thinking about professionalism, the role it plays in workplace culture, the role it plays within the systems that we were exploring within this project of Diversity Disconnect. And I began asking, where does professionalism come from? Like what guides the decision-making process behind what is and is not professional? Who gets to determine what is and is not professional? I see a lot of colonizer behavior in the idea of professionalism. I see a lot of colonized ways and viewpoints and no room for flexibility within the box of what is and isn't professional. And I think that is also something we need to start tackling and dismantling, because it's just a fancier way of saying you do not fit the status quo, you do not fit the norm. Because I can tell you one thing, ADHD is sure as hell ain't professional, but I don't have enough medication to stop it yet.
Does enough exist?
Is there enough of it? Something about inclusive hiring that really resonates with me is when I was applying for jobs previous to being hired with Free Rein, I was applying places like banks. That was something that, I don't know, I like money.
You really did think you were going to get in on a bank. You were,
I don't know.
You
was
were
like,
very set on the bank. And I was like, okay.
I know. I don't know. I was like, ooh, I could sit behind and count money and do the thing. But a lot of them had the system when you applied, it was, do you identify as queer? Do you identify as Indigenous? Are you a person with a disability? Check, check, check. I am white passing. I am in a heteronormative relationship, so kind of wash that away. And I have invisible disabilities. So do I or don't I
check the box.
Check the box. And are they going to be helping or hindering factors depending on how that company hires? Having an invisible disability, I never know how people are going to perceive, but then also deal with
your needs,
Thank
your
you.
accommodation needs.
Yes, all of my words are
Speaking of disabilities,
Word.
when I have a boundary or I have needs that I have, and I tell people like I cannot do this because they perceive and see me one way, able-bodied, which I am not always. Are they going to respect that, or are they going to go, is she pulling one on me? Because some days I am like a he-woman and I can, lift all of the things and do all of the things. And the next day I am flat out in bed and I will sleep for 36 hours and I have a migraine and I cannot see and I cannot walk. So because it's invisible, do people respect that? Do people acknowledge it? Do they actually understand and believe it? So when they are asking for people to disclose their disabilities or disclose their queer identities or disclose that they are Indigenous, are they going to be respectful of it? Are they wanting to know? Why are they wanting to know?
Why are you asking that question?
Yeah, why are you asking that question?
so they look good.
Yeah, right?
But what are you going to do with the answer?
It's all PR.
Yeah. And so for a person like me who walks in and maybe doesn't look like all of those things, what do you do with that information? And when I have a disabling condition that doesn't make me able to work in the way that you need me to work, how are you going to react? Are you going to react with defensiveness and treat me in a way that is respectful? Or are you going to make me feel guilty, make me feel awful, make me feel like my body isn't able of doing the things that you needed to do, and put me into that pit
And blame you for it.
and blame me for it. I already feel guilty. I already have a family that I cannot do all the things that I need to do for them or for myself. So then not being able to provide for my employer.
And I think you bring up a really interesting, it's been explored throughout this research as well, is that difference between visible barriers, visible forms of oppression versus invisible, and the idea of being passing comes with its privileges. Do not get me wrong. I am very much sheltered by the privileges that I do have. But at the same time, like you said, will you be believed? Your headache is so different than my headache. We are not on the same playing field of headaches when it comes to headaches. And I understand that, but without knowing you,
People don't know.
people don't necessarily get that. And
I've had a headache for the last 10 years.
right,
Legit.
I wouldn't even know how to get up in the morning. I barely survive when I have a mild headache. I don't like headaches, but it's the same thing with, when we then try to explain and have those difficult conversations, when we, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because there's a part of you sometimes that's just like, I'm just going to let this pass. For me, it's gender. If I get misgendered, I have the choice of, do I address this or do I just let this go? What's going to be better for me in the moment?
What's easier?
What's easier? What's going to
less
cause
work?
less trauma?
Yep.
And it doesn't always go great,
No.
even when it's supposed to.
Yep.
And
Even when you've had that conversation already.
again and again. And so, that like feeling the need to defend yourself and to, I always get worried people are going to think I'm making it about me. I'm centering myself. I'm just wanting attention. I was pretty much raised being told I like to be the center of attention. I'm always seeking attention. And so now if I ask for anything I need for myself, well, that's just me wanting, I need too much.
I'm a hypochondriac.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. So and then when you do set that boundary or ask for that need and a person gives you that, well, do you really need it? I start to question it myself.
Right?
Like, oh, you're right. Am I really depressed?
Gaslighting yourself.
Am I just like making a bigger deal than I need to be?
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add?
Oh yeah. I don't know how much like can be used, but it's brought up a few things for me. Like, my disability is so visible.
What?
I didn't know.
You have a disability?
You're telling me this for the first time. Yeah. So I can't get away from it. The only way I can choose to not disclose is if we never meet. And I've done that before, and it gets me what I need really fast, usually. So I often deal with like, with what Emily was saying, like putting like, I'm like, but she does so much physical labor and like all of she'll go fetch me things. And so for me, I'm like very much like, I'm the emotional guy. Like I'll take on everybody else's emotional weight. And that's just like, that's fine. 'Cause that's what I'm good at. And I don't have emotional needs. Who's she? So I've been caught doing that by professionals now. Like, but what do you need this to look like? And it's like,
I have needs.
Well, I remember that, like you spoke to earlier of like, and Emily spoke to of like, you know, I've got money. You just need to tell me what you need. And you're like, what do I need? I don't know what I need.
No, money.
Unfortunately, could not just
At the time. At the time, it was dollars. But so there's that. Like I'll downplay my emotional side of things because it takes so much for people to, or it feels like it takes so much for people to accommodate me physically. And then the other thing is that I'm like because I've started to understand the gravity of misunderstanding that exists, is that people will be like, oh, but your life like is so hard and I feel so bad for you. And it's like, this is what it's always been for me. And I am really capable. And so, yeah, I will do like literally whatever I can do to show people that I'm capable. But then there's like the part of me that I'll just entirely hide is like when I push a bit too much and then I'm in bed or catatonic, and it's like, no, but you can't see me like this because I've spent all of this effort to present myself as capable and independent. And so if you see like this side of it, it's just going to destroy your idea of me as capable and not like other people who need so much more help, which side note, we can't treat people who have more care needs as less worthy, because that's a thing that happens. Yeah, just reflecting on like there's duality to my existence and fear for me around showing that. Because like it's like I've got a facade here, and if that crumbles, then I lose all my credibility as a real grown up with a real grown up job.
After 9 episodes, we have officially come to the conclusion of the Diversity Disconnect podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, listening, and learning. To all of our research participants, we see you. We see your struggles. You will stay with each of us throughout the rest of our lives. The vulnerability and courage you've demonstrated through this project has lit a fire underneath us all to continue pushing for change. To read more about the research, visit freereinassociates.ca/diversity-disconnect. I am privileged to live, work, and raise my family on the traditional, unceded, and stolen territory of the Stalo people. As a proud Cree woman who has faced loss of culture due to colonization, I strive to learn more about my own Indigenous culture while raising up the voices of the Indigenous people in my community. Diversity Disconnect is funded by the Government of Canada. To learn more about the research, visit freereinassociates.ca/diversity-disconnect or check out the links in our show notes. The Diversity Disconnect podcast is hosted by Mallory Tomlinson and produced by Megan to Boekhorst. Our audio engineer is Tim McAlpine. Guests include Peter Bailey, Megan to Boekhorst, Madeleine Warkentin, and Emily White. The Diversity Disconnect podcast was developed by Free Rein Associates and Life Strategies.